So welcome to the uh, webinar for the Social Chamber on the Online Claims Platform. What we will be doing today is giving you a quick overview of the Online Claims Platform, specifically why FSC is implementing the Online Claims Platform, how it works, what issues it's trying to address, and specifically also how it can, we feel, be a benefit to communities, small forest owners, and small operations. And so we'll be talking about that today. So what is the online claims platform? Many of you might not have heard exactly what FSC is working on with the online claims platform. It's very simply it's a way to bring the FSC chain of custody system to modernize it and take advantage of technology that's out there to be able to streamline the chain of custody process, but also make the chain of custody process more simple to implement for certificate holders of all sizes and forms. It's an internet-based platform that records transactions between FSC certified organizations, which we'll be explaining more as we go through. It's a secure method for storing these records between trading parties, much like online banking. It's the evolution for FSC from paper-based system where to more something similar to online banking or using the internet to manage chain of custody. It allows any organization of any size that has an FSC certificate to use the platform at any time and from anywhere in the world. An important features of the online claim platform, an important aspect of the design was to make it possible to use in very different situations, from very, very large organizations, very large, for example, paper companies, but just as importantly, and maybe more importantly, is to be able to make sure it could be used by community forests and small operations who are implementing chain of custody. And as part of that is we have the online claims platform can be used in many different languages. Languages are, you can see on the side, and we are adding languages as it becomes known and needed for us. For example, we're now adding Korean. And also one feature of the online claims platform is to offer tools and services that actually can make chain of custody simpler to implement. So why is the FSC introducing this? Partly, as I said, it's to look at how we can use technology better and make this chain of custody system more efficient and easier to use for certificate holders. But we also know that as FSC's grown from a small number of certificate holders 20 years ago to almost 28,000 today across the world and across all sorts of sectors, that it's more and more difficult to assure that the claims that are passed in the FSC system are accurate. And an important feature which we'll describe is our system of control really focuses on the organization, the certificate holder, the company, and looking internally what that company does, how they manage their FSC materials. It does not really control the trade between organizations, certificate organizations. So the OCP has been designed to help us address that gap in the system that we've learned that exists and make sure that transactions are legitimate between trading parties. So what does this mean? So just to show you, in case you don't have a good understanding of FSC chain of custody system, here's how the current system works. A company, a sawmill, or a forest manager sells a FSC product with an invoice to another company in the supply chain. And the FSC chain of custody standard says that invoice or documentation must include the FSC claim with that invoice. The certification body audits the company, each company, and separate certification bodies work with different certificate holders. There's over 27 different certification bodies. So they would audit the company, for example, in this case, a sawmill. A different certification body would then audit and look at the receiving party, like the customer, the company that's receiving that material, to make sure that that invoice has been included in their records. Yep. There's quite a bit of background noise. It would be helpful if people could mute, unless they and then unmute if they have a question. That I think would help. Thanks very much. But what's really important is that the certification bodies have no way of comparing what a company sells to what a company receives. And so this can cause problems in the system. So what we have discovered is there's two major types of errors that are occurring in the FSC system, which the online claims platform is designed to address. One is that what we call an origination error. When the company sends the invoice, the company receiving it, the customer, takes that invoice and includes it in their records or their volume summary, and the certification body checks that and makes sure and that everything is fine with the customer. But what can happen is the supplier, company A, might not, on purpose or by accident, actually make an FSC claim, that the invoice record they input into their records doesn't signify that it's an FSC claim. So when the certification body comes and checks, there's no way for them to know that that was actually sold as FSC certified, because there's no communication, there's no comparison of those transactions between the two certification bodies. A second type of error that the online claims platform addresses is if the customer receives material, the FSC chain of custody standard says that company needs to check on info.fsc.org that the certification status for that for their supplier is up to date. And the standard says this needs to be done periodically. This is very difficult to do every time something's received, so it's often done on a quarterly basis or right before an audit. So what happens is if the customer suddenly is suspended or their scope of their certificate changes, and the customer, the company B, doesn't check, that means then the material they receive, even though it's on the invoice that it's a valid FSC certified material, in fact is not valid because they didn't check the certification status. There's no easy way to do that on a constant basis. So what are we proposing with the online claims platform? How does it take care of these issues? So what happens when a supplier, company A, sends their invoice, what happens is that the customer is required to connect on the online claims platform with their supplier. And when we say connect, it's very much like social networks like Facebook or LinkedIn. They send an email, and Emily will demonstrate this. They send a connection request to their supplier, who then needs to say, yep, that's who I am, and we have now a relationship because we trade FSC products. And then the customer, company B, enters the claim when they receive it into the online claims platform, and then a message is sent to the supplier to say their customer, company B, has made an FSC claim. Please confirm that this is a valid claim, the right volumes and the right claim type. And this way, when the volume summaries, when that these two claims are then equivalent and are inputted into the record of both companies. And so then when the certification body audits, they can then compare and confirm and verify that the same claim has been made between the two parties. Again, there's quite a bit of noise, so if people could mute, that would be helpful. Thank you. So what this also allows is that if the claims are different, then that is signaled between the two trading parties, and they have a disagreement, and they can then rectify, change that claim to make sure it's accurate between two parties. Another important feature is for example, many forest management organizations sell material onto a sawmill. They are confident, both parties are confident on what is received. So the forest management organization, even though they will get a record saying that please confirm, if they do nothing after 14 days, that's automatically accepted. But it still is put into a record that can be looked at and audited by the certification body in case there is issues in the future. So for forest management organizations, actually with the online claims platform, they generally have to do nothing to participate in the program. So one of the questions we hear from different stakeholders within FSC is, well, why do we need to implement the online claims platform? Why do we need to implement a piece of technology? Why don't we just do more and better audits? And clearly audits are very important for a number of areas in the FSC system, but they can't check this problem as it's currently designed. The number of certificate holders and the volume of trade is gotten to the point where it's very difficult for an auditor actually to on a once a year basis to actually look at a significant sample of invoices and check invoices. And even if they do check the invoices, they don't compare it to what was sent from their supplier. So there's no way to know actually if there is a problem, so you don't catch these two errors that we have in our system. Also, one of the things that has been important to FSC is that to make sure that the online claim platform can also provide benefits to certificate holders. And we feel that specifically for small operations, there are a number of significant benefits that can help with the administration of chain of custody. For one, that there's the requirement to keep records of suppliers will be done automatically through the online claims platform. Two, the requirement to hold data on species and country of harvest, that information is passed on in the online claims platform. So this allows that information to be easily passed on through the supply chain. The ability to do volume summaries can be used in the online claims platform. The online claims platform can deliver that, help deliver volume summaries and make this a much simpler process, especially for small operations that often have trouble working out how to manage and create volume summaries. Also, the requirement to maintain a product type list. This will allow the certificate holders to do that through the online claims platform. And it will automatically provide information on the change in scope of certificate holders. So if a supplier gets suspended, an email message and an electronic message will be sent to the customers to say that the scope has changed of their certificate, so there's no longer a need to check the certification status of suppliers. We are also looking at other ways that we can use the online claims platform to really streamline the administrative burden of chain of custody, with the goal that all information data requirements that could be found and can be found in the chain of custody standard could be met by using the online claims platform. So one of the questions often stakeholders have is when is the OCP going to be implemented? Is it going to be mandatory? We have spent time going out to stakeholders, talking to them about the online claims platform. The FSC board has made a decision that the OCP, no aspects of the OCP will be mandatory until further testing, until testing has been completed on the online claims platform, and then there'll be a 6-month warning of when it will actually, any mandatory feature would come into place, and then certificate holders will have a year after that to start using the online claims platform. So what we're doing now is we have a beta version available, which Emily will demonstrate. It's been available since early February, and we allow certificate holders to try and use the beta version. We are also in the process of developing what we call a live version that will be available for certificate holders. And what we mean by a live version is that the records in the live version will be permanent, so it can be used to manage volume summaries, manage certificates. The demo version, the records aren't permanent and will be periodically cleaned out, so it's not users can't use it to manage their certificates. Currently, so that gives you a quick overview of the online claims platform, what we're doing. We also, for more details, some webinars such as this webinar will also be posted on our information site, as you can see here, ocp-info.fsc.org. It has some, it has many materials, a frequently asked questions section that you can get all the details you need, and a method to asking questions directly to us. It also gives you the opportunity to register and try the online claims platform. So with that, I'm going to pass it over, pause here. This is a good point to take some questions if there are any, while I pass the presentation over to Emily so she could love the user interface of the program itself.
Great, thanks, Bill.
Great, thanks, Bill.
Okay,
we can wait a couple seconds here to see if anybody has questions.
Emily, do you want verbal questions or chat questions?
Either way is fine. There is an echo, so that's a little hard to understand, but we'll figure that echo out. Did you have a question?
Just said it.
Oh, why auto approval? Okay, perfect. So many companies have said that they know who their trading partners are, and they don't want to have to accept each claim every single time, and they would prefer to have an automatic approval because they trust their trading partners, and they may come up with their own sampling plan where they check a certain amount every time. Also, for the forest management units, a lot of the small forest management units, and even the larger ones, they typically are focusing on the actual principles and criteria in forestry, and they sell their wood to, you know, a contractor, a logger, or a mill, and the mill or contractor or logger is the one who enters the claim, and they want to be able to auto accept all of those things to make it easier for them. If by chance there is an issue where that claim is an incorrect claim that was automatically accepted, then it's the company that auto accepted it, it's their responsibility to fix that claim or explain to their auditor what happened. Yep, in the records, there's another question, but the records will be available to the CB. Yes, that is correct. So I'll get into the OCP, how it actually looks, and then once you're in here, you'll be able to see what one trading partner can see. And when you enter a claim, either side, the buyer or seller, can at any time edit that claim. And whenever that claim is edited, the other trading partner is notified that that claim has been edited. So it's one claim with one record on both sides. There's no way one side can see something different than the other side. That's the beauty of the OCP. It's that handshake between the two trading partners. Okay, I think those were the questions. Okay. Any other questions before I jump into this? Okay, I'll log in. Whoops, I was here too long. Let me go back. OCP, refresh the page. And if there's any questions during my part of the presentation, the demonstration part, feel free to jump in and verbally ask them or type them in, and I'll try to keep an eye on the typed in questions, and Phil can check those too. So the first thing that Phil mentioned is when you log into your OCP account as a certificate holder, you need to first connect to your suppliers. So that's a simple thing, kind of like Facebook or LinkedIn, where you go to the supply chain, you search for suppliers. You can search by your supplier's name or by their FSC code. So I searched by the beginning of an FSC code, and I'm going to say, yes, my supplier is Falling Apples. So I click on them.
Bothering you or not?
No, it's not. Okay.
Then I see their certificate information come up, and I say, yep, it's Falling Apples. They're in Germany. That's their code. That looks right. And then I click on this little connect icon. And then I pick my person who I do business with. That person's based on info.fsc.org. You get a nice little invitation that is sent to your supplier. If you would like to, you can choose to enter your own personal message. So you can say, hey, this is what I was telling you about. Please accept my connection request. Whatever, if you want to say something, you can do that and say okay. And then you'll see that the connection request was sent. The OCP then automatically goes to the pending connections tab, so you can see that you have no incoming ones, so you don't have any customers asking to connect to you. And then you can see who your outgoing connection requests are to. So I have this, let me switch up here. I have this set up for Forest Products Limited. Okay. Then you can see who your suppliers are. So I have one supplier that's already connected to me, Panel Products Limited. And if I want to enter a purchase, there's 3 different ways to enter purchases. The first one is the user interface, which is pretty straightforward. You go to the Purchase tab, record a claim. You click here, and then all of your suppliers would be listed here, and then you can choose the supplier that you're buying from. You'll see all of their basic information, their certificate information, and then you'll see the several fields that you need to complete. So transaction identifiers like an invoice, number 123, claim date is the invoice date, so I got that on last Wednesday, the 21st. Claim type, it's FSC 100%, it's a pure product. Product type, I'm going to say it was plywood that I was purchasing, and then I bought 20 meters cubed. And the description is, let's say, oak plywood, whatever the description is for you. And then you simply click the submit claim. And the claims have saved. So then this is in your OCP account. If we go to view claims, that claim already shows up. You purchased from Panel Products, invoice 123, we called it oak plywood, it's here. The status of that claim is that it's a new claim and it has not been accepted because your supplier just got this claim and they didn't have a chance to review and accept or auto accept it yet. Okay, it looks like we might have a question here. Oh, nope, that's an internal question. Okay, so the second way to enter claims is by downloading a spreadsheet. So you click this little button here, you download a spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is just for you, for your company. And the basic information that you saw earlier that you had to type in, you would type in here. So you'd have your supplier's name, or their code, transaction identifier, the invoice number, moving forward with the same fields. I already have one made for you for today. So once that is populated, you can manually populate that spreadsheet yourself, or you can have your own company computer system populate that spreadsheet for you. And then you can choose to upload the file. So my file is my purchases right here, and it's uploaded here. Or you can choose to email the file to this email address right here. My Outlook, sorry, it might take a second. But then each user of the OCP has their own specific email address in which you can send these spreadsheets. So you can email it in. That's typically useful instead of uploading it is if you don't have the best internet access, or the internet is a little bit down, or there's some issues with it. If you send the spreadsheet in through email, email keeps on trying over and over and over again, even when you're not there. So that has a lot of smaller certificate holders in more rural areas have said they may use that option. Another option is if you are a bigger company, you can consolidate your claims. And what that means, if you're buying the same thing from the same supplier every single day, you, instead of having to enter in that claim, 20 times for that day because you received it 20 times, you can consolidate all those claims into a 1 month period. So you can say that my transaction identifier is claims from April 2014. The claim date, I'm entering this on May 1st. All those products were FSC 100%. They were all wood panels, and the quantity was 5,000 cubic meters. And the description is claims from panel products in April 2014, W8, whatever makes sense for you and your trading partner. So then you can submit that claim. So as long as it's the same product that you're receiving every single time from the same supplier, then you can consolidate your claims. And then the last way you can enter claims into the OCP is via the API, the Application Programming Interface. Companies, very large companies, very sophisticated companies know what that means. It's basically a way to connect your computer system to the OCP itself. And then once that is built, once that plug is built to connect the two, then all FSC purchases are entered automatically. I'll go to view claims again, so you can see the different claims that we entered. Here, I think this is the one that I entered via the spreadsheet processor. Let's look at this question. Will researchers have access to the data for only suppliers and the purchasers? That's a very good question. Who has access? So you will be able to see what you sold to your customers, and your customers will be able to see what they bought from you. So one link up and one link down. Your suppliers can see what you bought from them, and they can see what they sold to you, but that's it. So if you had multiple suppliers, each individual supplier will only be able to see what they sold to you, and they will not know who your other suppliers are or who your customers are.
And just to add to that question, we have feedback from certificate holders and other stakeholders is they feel that the data they are putting in is proprietary and too valuable to be shared with others. So no one but the trading parties will have access to the information. The certificate holder will have to provide access to the CB, but it will be, they will need to give the CB permission. They will need to work with the CB on how that access will be granted. Same with ASI. We have, that data security, data privacy is of utmost importance to certificate holders, and we've heard that loud and clear. While we'd love, it's very rich data within the OCP, we have heard from certificate holders that they do not want to have the data, even aggregated data, in any way shared outside of what the OCP is designed for.
There's one other question.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, I can answer that. Do CBs get access only during audits? It's up to, at this point, the policies will need to be set, but because of the concern about data security, data privacy, at this point it will be something that must be negotiated between the C.
Oh, Phil, you somehow got muted.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I got. But CBs will only get access with permission from the certificate holders, just as it is in the case now. When a CB does an audit, it works with the certificate holder on how the data, how the information will be made available. That will be the same with the online claims platform. They would be able to, a certificate holder would be able to grant access administrative rights to a CB, or it could just grant access at the time of the audit, or it could just look at reports. But that's something we will be developing the policy on, but that it really would be similar to the policy that currently is in place. But it's then up to the CB and ASI to then decide if that access is adequate to be able to verify that the claims are accurate.
Yep. Really good questions. So one other piece I want to show you, because it came up earlier, is about editing claims. If you do need to edit a claim, I went a little too fast, you click that little edit button, and then you'll see the claim right here. So this is the one that I entered via the spreadsheet, test for Social Chamber 123. And I'll say, whoops, I accidentally bought, 1,000 items, and then you can submit that claim. So anytime I edit a claim as a company, my trading partner will see that exact claim. And they'll be able to see that that claim was edited. And if they say, oh, actually, it was really 100, then they can edit it on their end, and then I'll see, oh, it's really 100. So that's how that works. One last piece about entering claims before we get into reports is so the default of the OCP is that you are responsible for entering your FSC purchases. In some instances, the feedback we received is that some companies want to enter their FSC sales for a multitude of reasons. So if you want to be able to enter your sales, we have to have a discussion with your customer, and it's up to the customer to click this Make Claims button here. So now it's unchecked, so the supplier is disallowed. They're not allowed to make sales claims. But if I say, oh, actually, Panel Products, they've asked to enter their sales, I think that's a great idea, then I can click that as the customer, and that allows my supplier to enter sales claims. And that's it's almost identical to the Purchase tab, where you can choose who your customer is, and then, the fields are all the same for entering sales. Then we'll get into reports. So we have a volume summary report. You can say, okay, my audit's happening, or I'm curious of what my volumes were for this month so far, so you can run a report and click Get Volume Summary. The volume summary is pretty handy, where it will help certificate holders with their audit. It'll show a list of their FSC certified suppliers. It'll show a list of their FSC certified customers. It'll show all the purchases and sales they had. In this case, we only have one supplier, so they're listed here with all their information. This is part of the audit requirement, is to show who their supplier is, what their code is, are they still certified or not, and the date. You'll see a volume summary report by supplier, so you'll see the different product types that I purchased, over who the supplier is, the description, the basic information that you saw me enter earlier. You'll see that in the report format. Going on. Many certified companies don't have conversion factors. They just buy and sell a product. They trade in a ready finished product. So there is no conversion factor. If they do have a conversion factor, they can use the OCP volume summary tool for their volume summary for their audit by typing in, oh, you know, my conversion factor is 0.85, and then it'll do that conversion for you. I saw a question come in.
Yeah, maybe I can answer that question from Michael. Is what will, if people haven't seen it, what will final sellers like Target or other retailers be able to learn about the trajectory from forest to the door of FSC certified materials? Another excellent question. At this point, the only information that will be passed on the chain that will be visible will be species mix and countries of harvest of that material. This is important information for EU timber regulations and other legal schemes, other legal laws in other countries, and that information will be passed on. At this point, no other information on the supply chain will be available. This is something, you know, as the online claim platform is used, we would like to develop further. So if the supply chain agrees, if a retailer wants to know more about the supply chain and each member in that chain agrees to share that information, that could be made visible. We also would like to, for example, we know that the community label FSC community label is for FSC 100%, which means that we could likely trace or show the origin of the forest, you know, down to the forest level, provide specific information that could be used by the retailer and consumer, and that could all be passed along in the online claims platform. And that's something we would, as we develop the online claim platform, we certainly have in our plans to develop features, applications such as that.
Yeah.
Okay, Emily, I'll pass it back
to you. Okay. One last thing with this report is there's nothing in the chain of custody standard that says you have to track if your customers are certified or not, but that's interesting information to a lot of companies. So if your customers are certified, they will be connected to you, so then you'll be able to see who your certified customers are. So in this case, during this 1 month period that I downloaded this volume summary report for, I only have one customer that's certified, but you'll see all of their information here too. And then you'll be able to see the same similar information like your purchases. You'll be able to see your volume summary of your FSC sales to your certified customers. And the last thing, I want to go back to purchases to show you one other example. If you're purchasing from, so the earlier example, I was buying from a chain of custody certified company selling me FSC 100% pure material. So species and country of harvest was not an option for me to enter in. If I'm buying from a forest management unit, so the actual forest, or if I'm buying wood from a company with a controlled wood risk assessment, then I would choose that company. And then you'd see the same information that you have to enter, except there's the additional 2 fields of species and country of harvest. So what Phil was mentioning is when you enter the species and country of harvest, when you're buying from the forest management unit, the system will keep that in its memory. And then if you need to run a country of harvest report or origin report, you'll receive a list of all possible species and all possible countries of harvest that could be in that product. And that information comes from the first purchase of that new version would. I hope that makes sense.
I think
There's a little
the major
informational
point
eye
is,
here.
yeah, the main point is that it
Go ahead.
will, for those further down the chain, that information will be passed along automatically. So at the end of the chain, there will be it won't be necessary to input that information. It will be delivered to the customers, to the retailers automatically.
Yep. Okay, there's one more question about small holders in Amazon who might not have access to the internet or computers. So that's one of the reasons why we've built the OCP where you can enter your FSC purchases or enter your FSC sales. So typically we found that somebody in the supply chain, either the purchaser or the customer, the supplier or customer has access to the internet, and they can enter the FSC claim.
And just to add to that, we are very aware of smallholders and the need to make this work with smallholders. We are testing it with some smallholders, for example, in Honduras, with Forests of the World, to work out how this can function for them. We're very interested to learn about situations where internet access might be difficult or impossible, or trade does not use, where no trading parties have email or access to email. We know in those situations that the OCP will not be possible, and so what we would design and require is that the first place in the chain that does have ability to access computers would be the ones inputting the information, and that information then would be made available to the auditors further down where there is no internet access. But this is something, if anybody on this call or others have examples or where we should investigate further, we really are interested in doing that and making this.
Yeah, exactly.
We want to make this, we have set out as a goal from the start that this should be easy for the small operators, small holders, and in most cases we are finding that for small holders, because of the ability to do the chain of custody administration through the system, it's actually more beneficial than not, and more beneficial than it is for larger organizations have a much larger challenge of implementing it, and they have already developed their computer systems to manage their chain of custody certificates. And so we are also looking for ideas about how we can, especially for small holders, what features we could add to the online claims platform to make it even easier for them to participate in the FSC COC system.
Right. And we're asking, any certificate holders who are interested to test the OCP, and we're happy to help them with it and get their feedback, like Phil was saying, to see what works or what doesn't work, so we can learn and adapt the OCP to make it better for certificate holders' use. It also brings up group managers. Let's try to mute.
Muted.
Okay. It brings up group certificates and multi-site certificates.
Unmuted.
Manager will have. Oops. I'm going to mute you here so I don't echo. The group manager will have access to all of the group members' information, and each individual group member will have access to their own OCP account, but not other members' accounts. So in some cases, the group manager may choose to manage each member's account for them as well.
And Emily, there's a question I think I can answer this from Michael. So what will it cost to a forest management unit or a COC certified company to have access to the system? And what about retailers who want to verify their supply chains? Yeah, it's important that the online claims platform is offered at no cost to any organization that has an FSC chain of custody certificate or forest management certificate. It comes with that certificate, and access is given through the certificate number. We are developing a subscription service for those who do not have certificates. So in the FSC system, we say that if a company is trading finished label products, there's no need for chain of custody. But many of those who trade finished label products are interested in the online claims platform and getting the information, for example, on species and country of harvest and what is being produced. And for those, we are developing a subscription service. An example of this is currently we're working with the Rio Olympics that is committed to supplying all forest products for the Rio Olympics as certified and really wanting to do as much of that as FSC. They are also very committed to buying from smallholders, Brazilian enterprises, and they're pilot testing the online claims platform as a way to for them to confirm that those suppliers are actually FSC certified, as well as to be able to get the volume summaries and summarize what they are purchasing. So that's an example of the subscription service. But for others, if you are chain of custody certified, there's no cost.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And one thing that Phil mentioned earlier that I didn't actually show you is when you see your list of suppliers, if any of your suppliers' scope or status changes, so now this supplier, if their status is suspended, you'll be notified through the notifications, and you'll receive an email anytime anything changes. Same goes for your certificate. If your certificate changes, now you can sell a different species or a new product type or something, then all of your connected customers will receive a notification and an email saying that you can now sell these additional product types or species. So that removes the need to periodically check info.fsc.org to make sure your supplier scope and status is still up to date.
Another question is, what concerns have you heard from Russian companies about the OCP? Actually, at this point, we are pilot testing the online claims platform in some supply chains from Russia to China. We have not heard any particular concerns from Russian companies at this point. We have, interestingly enough, had interest of the Russian government, who is implementing basically a claims platform, a platform from the forest to the first node in the supply chain, the sawmill and others. They are implementing a similar traceability system, similar in some ways, different in other ways, but they're very interested in understanding what we're doing and potentially how what their system could integrate into the online claims platform.
Yep. And FSC Russia is very engaged with us and giving presentations on the OCP. They just presented one today, and everything seems like it went well, and there was good positive feedback and good questions. So we hope to continue engaging with them in other countries as well, especially getting companies to test the system, register and try.
And that's one of the things we'd encourage everybody on this call is, if you know certificate holders or are certificate holders, to register and try the system. I mean, it's difficult for us to understand concerns or what doesn't work if people don't try it, and we understand that almost every situation is unique, and we've tried to address almost every situation that we can think of, but we know that there are situations we haven't thought of, and we need to hear about that. That's why the online claims platform is in a beta format. One of the strengths of being a cloud-based system is we can adapt and adjust and change the software on the run. It doesn't mean you need to download new software or there's costs of that. It will be available.
Okay, that was more of an internal question about how to engage more participants to these webinars. we should pick that one up offline probably, but I wanted to show you on the informational website. We do have regularly scheduled webinars for all different types of stakeholders. There's a webinar section.
Yeah.
You'll see the ones that we had so far, and then we will post webinar recordings here as well. We tried to make sure that we met most time zones, so we have an early one and a late one for U.S. time, but that should meet almost any certificate holder's needs, no matter where you are around the globe. Our colleague in Hong Kong does the early one, and then I typically do the afternoon one.
So with that, are there any other questions or comments? We're happy to entertain those.